We will jump into our next session. So we have now two parallel workshops, and this one is being streamed, as I understand. And our topic is rather a case study about the Center for Modern Languages, so how we developed an internal translation bureau for the university. And we have a very nice title, which I think fits into all the previous presentations. And I think, or I do hope that we can give you some further impetus with that. And I will start now because KRISZTINA is my co-presenter, and I will start, then I will hand over to Kristi, and then we will move on to the next one. Maybe some background also for those who are listening online. So I represent here now the Center for Modern Languages. I am the director for it. And because the Internal Translation Bureau is very much connected to the center itself, so let me just give you some ideas what we are doing as a center first, because it is a key factor while we ended up having this Internal Translation Bureau. So this is our logo, which covers several pillars. So we have language teaching, LSP. We have every term around 2,500 students, both international and Hungarian students. So I would say that this is the biggest part of our activities. We also have a language examination center. In Hungary, there are accredited language exams. So also we have more like accredited language centers, and BME is one of the accredited language centers. Here we also have several thousand, not students, it's important, but rather pupils at secondary level who take this exam nationwide. So not only locally at BME, but nationwide. So we have several schools who collaborate with us in this accredited language exam. And then we also have a language school, not really operating at the moment. It's rather than adult education, but this was also part of our strategy to streamline a bit our activities, and adult education seemed a bit already too much in view of all the other activities we are doing. And of course the Center for Interpreter and Translator training, which is very much connected to all the other presentations we've had the chance to listen to. So how did it start? Internationalization is now a university priority, and at BME this is really reflected in the increasing number of students in our groups, but also in the fact that more and more documents need to be translated. And in a last meeting, director held a presentation, and I was happy to see that on his last slide there was this phrase, bilingual university. So we need to create a bilingual university in order to meet this internationalization requirement. And of course, if you want to create a bilingual university, there is also need for translation. And it has first appeared like 5-6 years ago. And here is the first problem. So we came across the first myth, which was that translation equals language competence. So if we have language teachers, then we also have translators. So I got several phone calls from university leaders who just wanted me, to distribute like all these or assign this translation text, because we have so many language teachers at the center. And it also had a bad effect, or a bad impact that we had the translator training program, because it increased, this myth. Oh, you also have a translator and training program, then you can, of course, carry out this translation task. And Christy found this very interesting picture, which really describes our situation, I think, or I wouldn't say it in the present tense, so it described our situation at that time. So everyone seemed to be an expert in this topic, and I had huge difficulties to explain that language teachers cannot necessarily translate all these official documents, and you need to understand that these were really documents like contracts, for example, from the Human Resources Department and so on, so really like legal translations and not like technical translations related to the faculty's work. So the first reaction was from our side to say, no, we cannot do it, and this was the first reaction because I was also in contact with other language centers at other universities, and I heard how these other centers were forced to do that, and really language teachers were forced to become translators. But I knew that we cannot do that to our teachers because they would, maybe the best teachers would maybe leave because of that activity. So the second reaction was, let's do it, but if we do that, then let's do it professionally. And of course, we can also rely on our translator training program and our experience in translation. So we launched a step-by-step approach. We started in 2020 as the first phase, and we commissioned freelance translators working for us on a contractual basis. We had no CAT tool at that time, so it was really like the translators worked with their CAT tools, but internally we didn't have any tool that would collect all these translations, or no database, no translation memory. And we received occasional requests from the faculties and the departments, and we started testing the organization. Yes, so we said then to these requests, yes, okay, we are doing it. Then we tested what the reaction was. We also started introducing like prices for this service because we didn't have any budget allocated for that. So it was really like an own initiative. Nobody really cared, what our reaction was or not. Was the main, approach was that the translation had to be done, and we were the ones who needed to complete this task. And then the second phase, which we called the second phase, started like 1 year later, when the first big document, the Code of Studies of the university, had to be translated. And this was really a huge task because it was not about like a contract or a several pages document with a very fixed terminology, also connected to other documents at university level. And we started developing then an Excel table and started collecting, all the terms that appeared in that document. And we also gained the first allies at university level. For example, the vice rector for education was really had a very positive approach, and we were able to have discussions about the terminology in the codes of studies. And this was also the phase where we bought the CAT tool, the MEMOC CAT tool, only locally, and started to use this tool. And then the third phase, and we are in this third phase now, and I would call it also a turning point, because that was the time when Kristi became a member of our team, and she acted and she still acts as a project manager, so like in a real translation bureau. And we also introduced CAT, like the MEMOC tool, online. So we have online projects and the translators work online. So we really started establishing this internal translation bureau. We also started receiving regular assignments and building up the translation translation memory and the database, but really couldn't have done it without a real project manager. So I think that's why I highlighted it, because it was really a turning point. What was also very beneficial for us with the coming in of KRISZTINA to our center, that we could also filter all this experience into our translator training program. We have in the training program a so-called mentor program, and then we also could show, like, future translators how real translation bureau works. Of course, it was not yet a real translation bureau, but we at least had the experience to show how it works, and Kristi was a key person in that. And now I'm handing over to Kristi, and she will describe how we work today, okay, how it looks like today.
Thank you, and welcome everyone here. I'm KRISZTINA, and I'm the project manager of the Internet Translation Office at the University of Technology and Economics. As Márta mentioned, we have been supporting the university with professional translation services since 2022. Our office operates with a small but efficient team. At the moment, our team consists of one project manager, me, and 5 translators who are working on contractual basis. And from October this year, we have a senior proofreader and terminologist who help our work. It's very important to highlight that all of our translators have many years of professional experience, and it means that they can provide us with professional translations and high quality work. Our work is based on a MemoQ server, and this environment means that all of our translations work online, as Márta mentioned. And the MemoQ is a CAT tool. It means computer-assisted translation solution. And this helps the translators and the project managers to work in a professional environment. The biggest benefits of our work, of our MemoQ server, is that all of our translations feed into a unified translation memory and a shared terminology database. And actually, these resources are the big benefits of our translation office. They mean consistency and efficiency in all types of documents. Besides the traditional translation, we are using machine translation. Currently, we have DeepL, which is integrated in MemoQ, but starting from this autumn, we plan to extend this with MemoQ AGT, the MemoQ's adaptive generative translation solution. And now let me walk you through the entire process, how we work. The first step is when the documents arrive. These documents, these files are received first by Márta. She forwards them to me. If these files come in a PDF format or other non-editable format, we convert them into Word files. This ensures the smooth processing. The next step is when we check these documents and import them into MemoQ. This is the stage when we run analysis in MemoQ. It means that MemoQ gives an analysis about these texts against the existing translation memory and terminology. So it means that we can prepare an exact cost calculation for the university, and we can measure the exact workload which is necessary from the translators. The next step is when we prepare these documents in MemoQ for translation and assign these files to the most suitable translator. It's very important to match the right translator with the right file. The fourth step is the actual translation, or sometimes the post-editing of the machine translation. Then, when the translation is ready, the project manager, so it's me, checks the translation. It means like spelling and grammar checks, accuracy, completeness. And also there is a quality assurance in MemoQ, which means that the software is checking the numbers and data, and also if the right terminology was used throughout the translation process. Of course, our translators are also required to run these checks themselves, but we apply the 4 eyes principle. It means that we also do these checks on the project management level. And then also together with these checks, we update the terminology database. When the translation is ready, when all these checks are ready, then we send back the ready translation to the client, to the organizational unit. If we get any feedback from them, we implement these changes into the translation memory. So next time we can work with these corrections. And also it's very important to mention that throughout this entire process, we are constantly discussing new terms, and we are constantly updating terminology database and the translation memory. Now, here you can see some key data of our translation office as of September 2025. We serve around 20 university units, including Director's Office, the Dean's Office, the Chancellery, several directorates and departments of the faculties. We mainly provide translations in Hungarian and English language pair. Sometimes we do proofreading as well. You can see here some data about our resources. Currently, our translation memory contains about 22,000 units, and our terminology database includes about 1,400 terms. They are constantly growing. It means every translation project, every files for translation contributes to our growing translation memory and terminology database. If we look at our workload from 2024, we had an amount of about 230,000 weighted words. The question is, what is a weighted word? Weighted word is an expression which is used in translation management. It means that not every word counts the same or means the same effort from the translators. It means that there are words already existing in our translation memory or in our terminology database. They do not require the same effort from the translators as the new content, for example. What types of documents do we translate? They include some academic regulations like the Code of Studies and Exams, rules of organizations and operation. We also handle some HR and legal documents, the Dean's orders, the EFMD accreditation materials, including memos, invitations, and templates, the deed of foundation, calls for applications and curricula, and also articles which are published on the university's website. It means that our translation office is involved in a wide range of texts, and this variety is what means challenging or challenge for us, actually, because even a simple text can involve several domains, and that's why it's very important to have such a working environment in MemoQ server, what we have. when it's about to prove the benefits of an internet translation office, it's important to mention consistency and cost and time reduction. In this slide, you can see a screenshot of the memo queue. This is what the translators and also the project manager can see during the translation process. You can see here on the right side, in red, the segments which already exist in the translation memory. You can see here the numbers of percentage. It means, for example, this segment gives 100%. It means that this segment already exists in the translation memory, and these blue thingies come from our terminology database. So these are the terms which must be used by the translators. Also, there are several other data: who created the entries and when. And it's possible for the project manager to log the segments. It means that these logged segments cannot be edited by the translators, and it can ensure the consistency within the text. So those segments or those sentences which were already translated in a previous document, so they already exist in the translation memory, they don't have to be retranslated. And now here in this slide you can see two reports. One of them on the left side is a memo queue statistic report showing the statistics, how the words or how the sentences are repeated throughout the text. It shows the repetition within the text. It shows the percentage rate against the translation memory, and also the no matches, the new content. On the right side you can see the cat count report. The cat count goes one step further. It converts the raw numbers of the memo queue analysis into weighted words. And this is what you can see, that for example, in this file, the total words were over 30,000, over 34,000 source words, but the weighted word is around 31,000. So it means if we use a CAT tool, so if we do the translation projects in a memo queue server, we can ensure consistency and cost time reduction. And now I will pass the floor back to Marta. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristi. So as you saw in the previous slides, apart from the fact that we know that it's important to use CAT tools, this cost reduction factor and the weighted words were also very important to convince departments that it's worth investing in this translation activity and to keep it within an integrated system. But there was also another issue, and this is terminology, which we are struggling with still today. And let me just show you on the basis of one very simple example, so how we managed to convince department leaders and university leaders that it was important to care about how these documents were translated. So we have here three different Hungarian expressions, because there are three types of subjects at university level in terms of requirements. And if I want to translate them into English, then the problem is that there are several ways of translating them into English. So it's really not about the level of your language skills. So if I gave this task to my children, for example, I think they would very well translate it, but in 3 or 4 different ways. And as you see, the problem is not only that, for example, for the first one, like the blue expression, there are several equivalents, as well as for the other one, marked with orange, there are several equivalents. But as you see in Hungarian, you have kötelező, kötelezően választható, and then szabadon választható. So when you start building a conceptual system or this conceptual tree, so you also need to pay attention to keeping the same terms to this concept. So if I opt for compulsory, for example, and for optional, let's say, then I cannot say that there are compulsory subjects and compulsory selectable subjects, because for the other term I had optional. So it may seem like very simple and evident, but for people who are not working with languages, you know, these problems only pop up later when the documents are already in use with these confusing terms. So my point is that here we have not only like a conceptual level decision, like when you need to set up this tree, how these subjects are connected to each other, but you also need to make decisions at term level, like how you name these concepts, and there you need to be consistent, not only across the text or within the text, but also across the terms themselves, because they form together a conceptual tree. So this was really a key. So, of course, you needed explanation for that. So you needed to explain why you need to be consistent in it. But this was also key to understanding why we need to start building the translation memory system, like be consistent across the text, and also the terminology database. And the other thing, now it's this slide is very similar to what Kristi showed you a couple of minutes ago, because this shows all the terms we have just discussed. So there you can see that we made a decision how to name these terms. And then we marked in the terminological database which terms the translator is not allowed to use. So we really had to follow a prescriptive approach in this and just say, these are the terms. Of course, we needed to have meetings for that. I mean, we had to have, like the approval and so on. But this was really a huge step. So I can myself remember very well when we, for the first time, discussed this set of terms, because this was a turning point again when we had the chance to discuss terminology with the leaders of the university, and they understood that we alone cannot make these decisions. So we need them to have this approval, and we also had to explain that it's not really about like which word is better or who can speak English better. So it's really not about that. But it's about just similarly to when they decided how to name them in Hungarian, we now need to decide how to name them in English. And this is one very important factor, because this is a human decision. The CAT tool or the ChatGPT or DeepL cannot make this decision. Their decisions are made in a random way, like extreme, also within the text and across the text. It's a human decision, and it's not about which decision is better. We could have come up with other kinds of decisions which could have been as well, which could have worked as well. But when we once make this decision, then it should be followed, and we need to be consistent with that. And let me show you just a recent example from yesterday and today very early in the morning, because we had to finish a document, and we had many phone calls with KRISZTINA yesterday late evening. So this was in the document, like now in the deed of foundation, in the new deed of foundation of the university, where several types of powers are defined in the document. And here again, as you can see, these powers were defined in the end of the document, like in the glossary. But if you think a little bit, and now it's really to the Hungarian participants, so what kind of verbs may come up behind these powers, then you can see that, for example, with power of consultation, it is véleményezési jogkör. The problem is that if you use a verb, then it's like give its opinion. Now the problem is that if you in one paragraph use like this Senate or whatever exercises its power of consultation, and then in the next sentence or in the next paragraph you write gives its opinion, then you cannot be sure whether like power of consultation is the same as giving its opinion. So this is again something which you either need to connect and then use these two terms or verbs parallelly, or you need to stick to power of consultation, and then don't use verbs like giving opinion or phrases giving opinions, but then stick like exercising power of consultation. So this was really a problem in this document. And also what I realized in the document, which made it even more complicated, that the Hungarian word konzultáció was also used, like the literal translation of consultation. So we really had to make up our mind whether now konzultáció means something different than consultation. So now I don't want you to, because it's getting boring, after a while, when we go on and on with these examples. But on the basis of that, you can see that here again, you need to set up beforehand the conceptual system of the document, and then start translating. And then, which also was very difficult in this specific document, was that this hierarchy of positions which was defined in it. And in the Hungarian document, you had this vezetői megbízás, vezetőállású, vezetőtisztségviselő, so this like leader, like the equivalent of the English equivalent of the Hungarian vezető, and it popped up really several times in the document. And then when you look up other legal acts, and you can find like executive officer, senior executive officer, then if you look at the definition, then you realize that there is a huge difference between executive officer and senior executive officer, so an important legal difference. And then the question is, when you want to describe the position of director, which in Hungarian we would say the highest ranking leader of the university, because that was the Hungarian phrase, then how does it fit into this system of senior executive and executive officer? Because if you start naming the positions like from the bottom up to the highest level, and then you start naming them like executive officer, senior executive officer, then you cannot say highest ranking leader. Even if in Hungarian you have the same word, but in English it just doesn't work. So there you need to come up, for example, with a new term like executive head, even if ChatGPT or other tools tell you that is chief executive officer, because the problem is if you use chief executive officer or CEO, it is very much like the company context and not the university context. So here, again, this contextual factor that it sounds very good, but in a university document, it may even lead to misunderstandings, especially in view of the fact that our university has been recently restructured, and the company aspect also has come to it, but it's still not a company. So this shows again that what we call in terminology, like, and what the translators should do usually, like ad hoc terminology work, here I would say that it's not anymore ad hoc terminology work, but it's systematic terminology work. But without that, you cannot translate the document. And now, when I move on and tell you how we made our case, then I would mention explanation. So what I am doing right now to you. And the key factor here was not per email, but per phone. Yes, so when I tried explaining all these things like terminological, like explanations per email, my experience was that it just doesn't work because people just can't imagine what the translator sees in a document or how we are working or what Kristi showed you. So they imagine a Word document and they think that the translator is working in a Word document, and they cannot imagine this kind of problems because they rather move at the language level but not at this conceptual level. So that's the first thing, like orally you can explain it more efficiently than in a written way. Then the other thing was, it's funny, but it really worked very well. So when we realized that they can just not imagine what the translator is doing today, then I started sending screenshots of what the translator sees when working. So this was like one of our favorite screenshots. So when I had like a long email conversation of some terminological problems, and I really had the feeling that we are just like we are working in two different boxes. Then I sent this screenshot, and it was really revolutionary because then people, really like organizational unit leaders at the university called me and said, is it really true that they have this kind of software and it's not a Word document anymore? So it's really, I'm just telling you this because for us, all this is evident, but for people working outside the language industry, it's not evident at all. So this screenshot really helped a lot to make them understand the kinds of problems we are describing now. And now the challenge. The moment we had the feeling that we have achieved something and we managed to convince university leaders of the importance of these issues, AI came into the picture, which further intensified this myth that we do not need this kind of like translations anymore. So why the first myth was that the language teacher can complete the translations. Now the second myth is that, oh, we already have AI, so let's forget all about this. We've achieved before, now we can do anything. And here, again, thanks to Kristi, another very funny, so I let you absorb this picture. Yeah, so here you can see the danger, yeah, of AI-assisted activities. So these tools are now used really by everyone. You can see it also in other units with colleagues, and the danger was really to lose what we have achieved. And now here it comes again with terminology, so what we try to show our colleagues. And let me go back now to my previous example. So if I enter these terms into DeepL or Google Translate, then you can see that the results I get from these tools are very different. So here, compulsory, elective, optional. So exactly what I described before. It doesn't work because once you have elective, it doesn't work with optional. Then you also need to have elective, but the tool just doesn't, like the AI tool doesn't know it. And here, what is even more interesting, DeepL, for DeepL, kötelezően választható is just the same. It's compulsory in both ways. But be aware, if you type it now, DeepL would give another set of examples. So it's not consistent. Yeah, not only within one document, but when you ask DeepL 1 hour later, then it gives you another set of terms. So these examples may not be valid when we work now with our computers. So here. This is a key argument for why we need a terminology database and why we need to keep all these translations, university translations, within an integrated system. So you cannot go to ChatGPT, even if it solves your translations, because then it goes like a drop into the sea. And then you do not have everything together. You cannot harmonize all these texts. And then what's next? Yeah, that's the second question, and we call it now phase 4. Kristi already referred to some elements of our future plans. So first of all, adding a senior proofreader or terminologist seems very important. As we get more and more documents, these terminological issues become more and more serious. So as I try to describe, and we too are dealing with it right now, and it's just too much. So you really need, now we have arrived at the point that you really need a separate individual dealing with all these terminological issues to check the translation memory, check the terminology database, edit it, start organizing meetings with other organizational units. So really, we really need to make this part also as professionally as possible. Then we also have the feeling that, because this was like for a while, I was not sure whether it's a good idea or not to buy from MemoQ the term finder. Service, which means that the database we have in the software and only the translators and we have access to the terminology database. So let's extract it, so to say, and make it available to the general public, so to say, or the university colleagues. Because in the beginning I had the feeling that if we make this database available to them, then they won't go to us anymore, and they don't want to have our service anymore, because okay, if you have the database, then no problem. I have ChatGPT, I have the terminology database, and that's all. So I think here we will also like follow a step-by-step approach. We will think about that. But we bought it, and now it's we are in the process of launching this term finder service as well. And then. We plan to increase further awareness of these AI pitfalls I've shown you. So I think the two are really connected. So we mustn't like make term finder to everyone public unless we. So before we. So first we need to increase awareness and then make this term finder public. So let's put it this way. And then my key message is, so we are also using AI, but we need this integrated system. And here I would like to connect back to the first day, to Balázs presentation and to all the others from MemoQ. because there was a discussion whether we still need CAT tools if we have AI. And I think these examples here showed that we need the CAT tools, but we need to integrate AI in it, but not vice versa. So we need it because we need this integrated system. Otherwise, we cannot build and refine the terminology of the organization. And in our case, at least at university level, this is one of the most delicate parts, like the terminological part. And we hope that this way we can arrive to this idea of bilingual university in a professional way. So thank you very much for your attention, and I think we would be delighted to answer your questions, if you have any.